welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're clipping into our pedals, we're adjusting our helmets because we are heading to Iksan, South Korea. But here's the thing. Usually when you sign up for something like a Mediofondo, any long-distance cycling event, you're just signing up for pain.
Right. It's a purely physical sufferfest. You're in the pain cave.
You're in the pain cave, you're watching your power meter, you're drafting, you're obsessed with your time. You are not usually looking at a rice paddy and thinking about, 16th century geopolitics.
Definitely not.
Exactly. But the source material we have today is completely different. It's this reflective personal narrative from a cyclist who rode the Iksan Mediofondo.
Yeah.
And his whole point is, if you actually pay attention to the road, not just the asphalt, but the ground underneath it, you realize you're not just riding a bike. You're riding through a crime scene. Or maybe a monument.
I'd lean toward a monument, but, a complicated one. The author, while he's pushing through 95 kilometers of just pure physical exertion, he starts to overlay the ghosts of two very different eras of Korean history onto these fields he's passing.
So our mission today is to decode that experience. We're going to look at how a dismantled stone tower and a quiet field of crops are actually restored. They're evidence of disparate war strategies and lost kingdoms.
It's all about how a modern landscape reveals the ghosts of the past. I think by the end of this deep dive, you really won't look at an open field the same way again.
You'll see the decisions that kept it safe.
Exactly.
So let's get into the mindset of our cyclist. He didn't just show up to Iksan on a whim, right? This ride was actually triggered by a specific memory.
It was, yeah. He mentions that as soon as he heard the Mediofondo was starting at the Mireuksa Temple Site, it transported him back to a family trip he took in March 2017. He called that trip In Search of Baekje's ancient capital.
And for anyone who might be a little rusty, Baekje was one of the three kingdoms of Korea. It was known for this incredibly sophisticated art and culture, but it eventually fell to an alliance between Silla and Tang China. So there's this lingering sense of loss attached to it.
That's the key emotion. It's Han, this deep-seated sorrow. And the author talks about these sensory details he brought with him to the start line from that 2017 trip.
Like what?
He remembers the quiet wind at Gongsan-song Fortress. He remembers the sadness of the river at Nakwam Rock in Buyeo.
Oh, that's the legendary cliff where the court women supposedly jumped to their deaths rather than be captured.
Precisely. So he's already carrying this heavy, tragic baggage before he even clips into his pedals. But there was one specific visual from 2017 that really, really haunted him.
The pagoda.
The dismantled pagoda. He talks about visiting the Mireuksa stone pagoda, and it was just in pieces.
Yeah, that image really stuck with me. He describes seeing this ancient sacred tower just taken apart. He says there were number tags on the stones, and they were just sitting there on the bare ground.
Yeah. It's a jarring image, wasn't it? This tower was meant to stand for eternity as a symbol of divine power.
Right.
And our author sees it effectively autopsied. Just rocks with inventory stickers, waiting for a restoration team. It turns a divine declaration into a logistics problem.
He says the afterimage of that day never left his heart.
Yeah.
So, okay, fast forward to the day of the ride. It's 3:30 in the morning. He's driving down the expressway to get to the start line.
And this is where the atmosphere gets really moody. He's driving past these old Baekje sites, Mongshantasong, Gongju, Buyeo, and he writes that the traces of the kingdom seem to wave silently from the darkness.
That is a beautiful, if slightly spooky, description.
Well, it's telling. He notes that Baekje was once the center of the nation, the heart of the peninsula. But now, geographically, historically, it feels pushed to the edge. It's just waiting in the dark while the modern world sleeps.
So he arrives at Mireuksa. It's 6:30 a.m. The sun hasn't quite broken through yet. And before the race even starts, he takes a slow lap around the temple grounds. And this is where we really need to dig in. Because he says Mireuksa wasn't just a temple, it was a declaration.
Yes.
What does that mean, though? I mean, when I hear declaration, I think of a speech. How is a building a declaration?
It's all in the architecture. You have to look at the standard for that time. Typically, a temple had one pagoda, one golden hall system, one tower, one main sanctuary. Simple, focused, efficient.
But Mireuksa was built with a massive 3 pagodas, 3 golden halls structure.
Okay, so 3 is bigger than 1. Is it just about showing off wealth? Is it that simple?
It's much more desperate than that. You have to understand the context. King Mu, who built this, was trying to restore the authority of a royal family that was frankly, losing its grip.
Ah.
So by building 3 massive pagodas and 3 halls in one complex, he wasn't just expanding, he was, in a way, rewriting the rules of the universe.
That sounds intense. Rewriting the universe. It was a physical manifestation of this idea of a Maitreya world utopia they wanted to build right there on Earth. It was basically a theological revolution being used for political stability. He was saying, we are not just a kingdom, we are the center of the future paradise.
So it's like building a cathedral 3 times the size of St. Peter's right in the middle of a political crisis. It's a Hail Mary in stone.
Exactly. And that makes the author's memory of seeing it dismantled even sadder. King Mu built this to say, we are eternal, and our author saw it as a pile of tagged rocks on a pallet.
But he says even those ruins, the base stones that are left, they still project this incredibly strong message.
This was once a great country.
It's amazing how a few stones can scream that louder than a pristine building sometimes.
It's the resilience of the ruin. It refuses to disappear.
So he's soaked in all this ancient, heavy atmosphere. Then the horn blows, the ride begins. 95.7 kilometers, 609 meters of elevation. Now, physically, those numbers are manageable.
Yeah, for a Fondo, it's not the Alps.
Not at all.
And the author admits that. He says, numerically it seems average, but he insists that the rhythm of the Baekje fields is different.
Let's talk about that rhythm, because this is where the sensory experience really takes over. He's not looking at his GPS watch. He's smelling the air. What does Iksan smell like at dawn?
According to him, it smells like rice straw and manure carried on the wind.
Which, honestly, is the most authentic countryside smell you can get. It's earthy. It's real.
And he describes these metasequoia trees lining the road, the late autumn sunlight covering the earth. It creates this sensation of just immense width and quiet. He calls the field surprisingly wide and surprisingly quiet.
Yep, so he's in this headspace, mourning a lost kingdom, smelling the wet earth, and then suddenly, whoosh.
Yep. The 21st century comes tearing past him.
Enter the KTX MTB train.
Vehicles, yes.
I love this part. We have to mention his riding partners. He calls them Black Horse Ingyu and Atagio, which is like Big Brother. And he compares their group to the KTX Korea's high-speed bullet train.
It's such a great juxtaposition. You have this landscape defined by its silence, the deep, heavy silence of the Baekje ruins. And then you have these modern mountain bikes, carbon fiber, lycra, just tearing a hole right through it in a pace line.
It feels like a violation, but he says it actually woke him up.
It triggered his wild sprinting instinct, and I think this is crucial. It connects him to the land physically. He's not just observing history, he's sweating on it. He's struggling on the same ground.
It's that camaraderie of suffering. You're pushing hard, your legs are burning, but you're flying because your friends are pulling you. But, and this is where the whole thing pivots, right in the middle of this high-speed, adrenaline-fueled sprint, his mind drifts to a naval commander.
This is the detective moment of the deep dive.
Yeah. I really want to pause here because this part made me stop and reread the source. He's looking at a rice field in Iksan, a flat field, and he thinks of Admiral Yi Sun-sin. Now, Yi Sun-sin is the hero who crushed the Japanese Navy in the 16th century, but he fought at sea. Yesu, Hansen Island, Jindo. He was nowhere near this landlocked field.
On the surface, it seems like a total disconnect. Why think of a chaotic sea battle while looking at a peaceful rice paddy?
Exactly. So walk us through the logic. How do we get from a farm to a fleet?
It's all about the supply chain. You have to think like a general in 1592. The Japanese invasion strategy was a pincer movement. They landed a massive army in the south, and their goal was to push up and capture Seoul.
Okay. Standard invasion tactics.
But an army of that size eats a literal mountain of rice every single day. They can't carry it all with them. They have to source it locally.
And the Honam region, Jeolla province, where Iksan is, that's the breadbasket of Korea.
Exactly. This is the granary of the nation. So the Japanese plan was simple. Capture the grain from these very fields in Iksan, load it onto ships on the coast, and sail it up to feed their troops. It's a logistics war.
So the rice field isn't just a farm. It's the bank vault. It's the fuel tank for the enemy army.
Correct. And that is where Yi Sun-sin comes in. He wasn't defending the field by standing in it with a sword. He was defending the transport route. By closing the sea at battles like Hansen and Mireuksa, he made it impossible for the Japanese to move that stolen rice.
Close the sea. That phrasing from the text is so absolute.
It is, the author writes. He guarded the sea so the grain of Jeolla was not loaded onto Japanese ships, and this plain leading to Iksan did not collapse in the end.
That is the aha moment. The quietness of the field isn't just nature. It's a successful defense. The field is peaceful because the war was strangled before he could even get there.
It forces you to look at the landscape totally differently. That silence isn't an absence of history, it's the presence of protection.
The author even quotes Yi Sun-sin here. Cut off the path so the country can live, and that famous maxim.
One man guarding the pass can strike terror into 1,000.
It's so interesting how he applies that to the geography. He's riding on a pass, a road, thinking about the pass at sea, the Strait of Myeongyang. The concepts just overlap in his mind.
And that leads him to this really touching moment of empathy. He starts thinking about the time Yi Sun-sin was forced into Baekje Kingdom.
We should probably define that. It's a concept that doesn't really exist in modern Western militaries.
It literally means serving in the military in white clothes. In the Joseon Dynasty, officers wore colorful uniforms showing their rank. If you were stripped of your rank and forced to serve as a common private, you wore plain white.
So just imagine the psychological weight of that.
Yeah.
You are the greatest admiral in your nation's history. You've saved the country multiple times, and now you are demoted, humiliated, and forced to walk as a private soldier.
Yes. And he had to travel through this exact region, so the author speculates. He asks, did the general pass over the nearby Yusan Pass while harboring feelings of injustice?
He's imagining Yi Sun-sin walking the same ground he is cycling, maybe looking at the same fields, swallowing his anger, but still keeping his resolve.
And the contrast is just heartbreaking. The cyclist is there for fun, wearing high-tech gear, chasing a personal best with friends. And right there, in the ghost layer of history, is the admiral, walking in shame, worried about the fate of the entire nation.
And this is where the author brings up this idea of temporal convergence. It sounds kind of sci-fi, but it's really poetic.
He looks at the road itself. He says, the road changed from soil to cement and from cement to asphalt, but the path itself remains the same.
That gives me chills. The surface changes, but the coordinates that line through the earth are the same. The cyclist and the general are sharing the same space, just separated by time.
And they're both looking at the same thing, the land itself and what's at stake.
It really elevates the ride, doesn't it? He says, as he pedaled, he felt like he was hearing the general's voice in the wind. Cut off the path so the country can live.
It changes the physical effort of cycling into a sort of ritual. He mentions that by the time he hit the finish line at the 97-kilometer mark, it wasn't just about finishing a course.
No, he says it was about passing through a point where past and present meet. He felt a heavy lingering imagery, or yan in Korean. It's not just relief that the ride is over, it's a spiritual weight.
It's the realization that he is the beneficiary of those past struggles. He gets to ride a bike for fun on this land because someone else fought for it.
Which brings us to the end of his journey. He wraps up the narrative with some really heartfelt gratitude. And I think this is important because it grounds us back in the present. History is grand, but life is lived with people.
It is. He gives a shout out to his riding partners again, the Black Horse and Big Brother, thanking them for that wild sprint. And he thanks a photographer named Gumdi.
Gumdi seems to be a fixture at these events, always capturing the moments. The author says, I always gain great strength from seeing you doing your best in the same spot.
That's a nice parallel, isn't it? Yi Sun-sin doing his best at his post at sea, the photographer doing his best at his post on the side of the road.
The friends pushing each other.
It's all about people holding their ground, whatever that ground happens to be.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It connects the grand history to the small, personal history of a Saturday morning bike ride.
Reminds us that we're all just passing through the landscape, but we can leave a mark.
So let's zoom out. What does this all mean for us? We've gone from a dismantled pagoda to a high-speed bike train to a naval battle and back to a rice field.
I think the core takeaway here is about seeing. We so often move through our environments, commuting, jogging, whatever, seeing only the surface.
Right, we see traffic, we see trees, we see asphalt. We just see the now.
We see the utility of the road, not the history of it. But this source teaches us that if you know the context, the landscape becomes transparent. You see the layers. You see the ambition of the Baekje kings in a pile of stones. You see the strategic brilliance of an admiral in a quiet field of rice.
It makes the world feel so much richer. You're never really alone on the road. You're riding with ghosts.
And those ghosts have stories that explain why the road is even there in the first place.
It really makes you wonder. We look at a peaceful park or a quiet street and we think, oh, this is nice. But we rarely ask, what disaster didn't happen here?
That's the thought I'm leaving with. Peace isn't just the absence of war. Often, peace is a remnant. It's what's left over because someone, somewhere, closed the sea or held the line.
So next time you are out for a walk or a drive or a ride in your local area, look past the Starbucks and the stoplights. Ask yourself who kept this ground safe for you. Every landscape is a history book if you know how to read it. Thanks for joining us on this ride through Iksan.
Ride safe and keep looking deeper.
See you on the next deep dive.
햇살이 부서진다 봄의 언덕 위에서 과거가 나를 부른다 백제의 길 위로 왕군이 돌담 따라 시간의 문을 열면 무왕의 꿈이 다시 숨쉬네 달려라 익산의 바람을 타고 백제의 심장으로 들어가자 빛나던 금의 나라 미륵의 노래 우린 지금 그 길 위를 달린다 석탑은 말이 없고 돌은 기억을 품네 사라진 깃발이 바람에 흔들린다 선화의 미소 속에 숨은 기도처럼 나라의 꿈이 들판 위에 피어난다 달려라 익산의 바람을 타고 백제의 심장으로 들어가자 무너진 시간 위에 다시 피는 혼 우린 지금 그 길 위를 달린다 왕궁의 계단 금빛의 향로 잃어버린 믿음 다시 깨어난다 역사는 먼 과거가 아니라 오늘을 묻는 나의 질문이야 달려라 익산의 햇살 속으로 백제의 혼이 깃든 그들 방 위로 빛나는 역사여 내 안에 살아라 이 길은 끝이 아니다 또 다른 시작 기다려